Now, they are going to continue to be dangerous. So let me just be very clear, because whenever I say that we have made progress in squeezing the territory that they control, or made real inroads against them, what people will say is, well, if something happens around the world, then obviously that must not be true. But in any battle, in any fight, even as you make progress, there are still dangers involved. And ISIL's capacity both to infiltrate Western countries with people who've traveled to Syria or traveled to Iraq. And the savviness of their social media, their ability to recruit disaffected individuals who may be French or British or even US citizens, will continue to make them dangerous for quite some time. But we will systematically go after them. Now, in order for us to stamp them out thoroughly, we have to eliminate lawless areas in which they cannot still roam. So we can disable them, we can dismantle much of their infrastructure. Greatly reduce the threat that they pose to the United States, our allies, and our neighbors. But, in the same way that Al-Qaeda is pinned down and has much more difficulty carrying out any significant attacks because of how we've systematically dismantled them, they still pose a threat. There are still operatives who are interested in carrying out terrorist attacks because they still operate. In areas between Pakistan and Afghanistan, or more prominently right now, in Yemen, that are hard to reach. Our long-term goal has to be able to stabilize these areas so that they don't have any safe haven. And in order for us to do that in Syria, there has to be an end to the civil war. And there has to be an actual government that has a police capacity and a structure in these areas that currently aren't governed. And it is my firm belief and the belief of the experts in this administration. That so long as Assad is there, we cannot achieve that kind of stability inside of Syria. And I think the history over the last several years indicates as much. So that's going to continue to be a top priority for us. Moving aggressively on the military track and not letting ISIL take a breath, and pounding away at them with our special forces and our airstrikes. And the training and advising of partners who can go after them. But we also have to keep very aggressive on this diplomatic track in order for us to bring countries together. All right. Everybody. Question, on criminal justice. President Obama, oh, on criminal justice reform, I answered the question. I'm hopeful. Question. President Obama, and, April, what I said was, is that I strongly support the Senate legislation. That's already been put forward. I'm hopeful that the House can come up with legislation that follows the same principles. Which is to make sure that we're doing sentencing reform. But we're also doing a better job in terms of reducing recidivism and providing support for ex-offenders. And if we can get those two bills together in a conference, then I'm somewhat optimistic that we're going to be able to make a difference. Now, keep in mind, April, when you use the term mass incarceration, statistically. The overwhelming majority of people who are incarcerated are in state prisons and state facilities for state crimes. We can only focus on federal law and federal crimes. And so there's still going to be a large population of individuals who are incarcerated even for nonviolent drug crimes. Because this is a trend that started in the late 80s and 90s, and accelerated at the state levels. But if we can show at the federal level that we can be smart on crime, more cost-effective, more just, more proportionate, then we can set a trend for other states to follow, as well. And that's our hope. This is not going to be something that's reversed overnight. So just to go back to my general principle, April, it took 20 years for us to get to the point we are now. And it will be 20 years, probably, before we reverse some of these major trends. Okay, everybody, I got to get to Star Wars. Thank you. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Question, Happy New Year, Mr. President. President Obama, Happy New Year to you. Barack Obama. Final Presidential State of the Union Address. Delivered January 12, 2016, Washington, D. C. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. Tonight marks the 8th year that I've come here to report on the State of the Union. And for this final one, I'm going to try to make it shorter. I know some of you are antsy to get back to Iowa. I've been there. I'll be shaking hands afterwards if you want some tips. Now, I understand that because it's an election season, expectations for what we will achieve this year are low. But Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the constructive approach that you and other leaders took. At the end of last year to pass a budget and make tax cuts permanent for working families. So I hope we can work together this year on some bipartisan priorities like criminal justice reform. And helping people who are battling prescription drug abuse and heroin abuse. So, who knows, we might just surprise the cynics again. But tonight, I want to go easy on the traditional list of proposals for the year ahead. Don't worry, I've got plenty from helping students learn too. Write computer code to personalizing medical treatments for patients. And I will keep pushing for progress on the work that I believe still needs to be done, fixing a broken immigration system. Protecting our kids from gun violence, equal pay for equal work, paid leave, raising the minimum wage. All these things still matter to hard-working families. They're still the right thing to do, and I won't let up until they get done. But for my final address to this chamber, I don't want to just talk about next year. I want to focus on the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And beyond. I want to focus on our future. We live in a time of extraordinary change that's reshaping the way we live. The way we work, our planet, our place in the world. It's change that promises amazing medical breakthroughs. But also economic disruptions that strain working families. It promises education for girls in the most remote villages but also connects terrorists plotting an ocean away. It's change that can broaden opportunity or widen inequality. And whether we like it or not, the pace of this change will only accelerate. America's been through big changes before wars and depression. The influx of new immigrants, workers fighting for a fair deal, movements to expand civil rights. Each time, there have been those who told us to fear the future, who claimed we could slam the brakes on change. Who promised to restore past glory if we just got some group or idea that was threatening America under control. And each time we overcame those fears. We did not, in the words of Lincoln, adhere to the dogmas of the quiet past one. Instead we thought anew and acted anew. We made change work for us, always extending America's promise outward to the next frontier, to more people. And because we did, because we saw opportunity where others saw peril. We emerged stronger and better than before. What was true then can be true now. Our unique strengths as a nation. Our optimism and work ethic, our spirit of discovery, our diversity. our commitment to rule of law, these things give us everything we need to ensure prosperity and security for generations to come. In fact, it's in that spirit that we have made the progress these past 7 years. That's how we recovered from the worst economic crisis in generations. That's how we reformed our healthcare system and reinvented our energy sector. That's how we delivered more. Care and benefits to our troops coming home and our veterans. That's how we secured the freedom in every state to marry the person we love. But such progress is not inevitable. It's the result of choices we make together. And we face such choices right now. Will we respond to? The changes of our time with fear, turning inward as a nation, turning against each other as a people? Or will we face the future with confidence in who we are? In what we stand for, and the incredible things that we can do together? So let's talk about the future, and 4 big questions that I believe we as a country have to answer. Regardless of who the next president is, or who controls the next Congress. First, how do we give everyone a fair shot at opportunity and security in this new economy? Second, how do we make technology work for us and not against us? Especially when it comes to solving urgent challenges like climate change. Third, how do we keep America safe and lead the world without becoming its policeman? And finally, how can we make our politics reflect what's best in us, and not what's worst?